الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ولا يغتب بعضكم بعضا أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتموه. We'll be mentioning with regards to Gheebah, the harms of Gheebah and why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made Gheebah impermissible, prohibited Gheebah. And that how this is from those illnesses of the heart that majority of us are involved in. And we are involved in it in such a manner that how can we remedy it when we do not even regard it to be something that is impermissible. If an illness is not regarded as an illness, then it cannot be treated as an illness. In order for it to be treated, a person needs to recognize that this is an illness, first of all. And until you do not realize that it is an illness, it will just remain as it is. And any illness that is not treated will increase. It will cause further complications. And it can lead towards a person's demise. Spiritual illnesses are the same. Until we do not treat them, they remain within us. They become a habit within us. And eventually it will lead towards a spiritual demise as well. So it is important that we recognize these illnesses to be an illness. And now that we do realize this is an illness that needs to be remedied, then we need to do something about remedying it as well. Just leaving it the way it is not correct as well. So we all know that Gheebah is something that is impermissible, it is prohibited. And we know that we are involved in it, we are in the habit of it. Now it is important that we remedy it. From the remedies of Gheebah, and before we come to the remedies of it, one or two occasions wherein it will be allowed for a person to backbite. The harms and why it's haram, these are things we've already mentioned in a previous majlis. And we understand the definition of Gheebah as well. To speak ill of a fellow Muslim brother behind his back. This is what is Gheebah. If it is actually found in him, then this is Gheebah. If it's not, then it is slander, which is worse. The question arises, as it was asked by Shoaib last week after the Friday Jummah, the Quran Tafsir, with regards to leaving reviews. Somebody asks you with regards a review or a feedback, for example. Now there will be those who might have been listening to the majlis over the last couple of weeks, has fully understood that the Gheebah is impermissible and have made tawbah from Gheebah, that we're not going to speak ill of anybody whatsoever. So they've made tawbah of it. That neither are we going to speak ill of somebody and neither are we going to listen to Gheebah as well. Both are the same. Speaking ill of somebody, Gheebah is haram, and listening to Gheebah is also haram. Here we have the misconception that we think that the other person is the one who's making the Gheebah. I'm just listening. I was just sat there and he's the one who's making the Gheebah. To be part of that majlis itself is part of the majlis of Gheebah. You're all involved in the same sin. Hence, if a person is making the Gheebah, then you should not be sat there. Either tell the person to stop making the Gheebah, or if you do not have the ability or you're not in a position to ask them to stop, then do not listen to it. Which means that just depart from them, make an excuse, and leave the gathering wherein Gheebah is taking place. Because if you're going to remain there and you're going to listen to it, you are just the same as the one who is listening to it as well, to the one who is actually doing gheebat. And also in the form of gheebat, before we come to this, the reviews I was mentioning, a person once asked Hazrat Hakim Umar Rahmatullah alayhi, with regards to making a gheebat of somebody who you have informal friendship with. That at times our friends and friends when together, they might make a mockery of one another. They might laugh at one another, joke with one another. Knowing that, look, they're not going to feel offended by it. They're not going to feel offended by it. For example, amongst the friends, maybe there is somebody who is on the larger side. And because he's on the larger side, when they're together, they will tease him because of his size. And being in front of him, they'll call him Mote. They'll call him Mote. And the friends, they are fine with it. They do not take offense of it. We have them within friends, where it's case of, you might say that, or maybe one might just call him his friend. Bhai tum to bade bewafa ho. You are a bewafa admi. You are a disloyal person. You do not know what loyalty is. So maybe conversation. This is something that is mentioned. Somebody is tall, and they say, call him Lambu, for example. A Lambu. Now one is calling such type of way in a manner which is mocking somebody. This is impermissible. Impermissible. And one is, it's something that you mentioned with one another where the person does not take offense from it. Now can you use the same words or describe a person in the same manner when they are not present there? Now for example, the same friend who you call Bewafa, when he's there you call him Bewafa, he's not there. And you're in another gathering and somebody mentions with regards to him and you say there, oh you mean, wo Bewafa. You mean wo Bewafa, that Bewafa. Or you mean that lanky. Or you mean that individual. And you mention those things. And you mention it, why? Because you assume that, look, I mentioned that when he's present, so he doesn't mind, it's just out of friend, because we have that type of friendship within us that we take it for a laugh, nobody gets offended. Even there, Hazrat Hakim Umar Rahmatullah alayhi says that if you have, and until you do not have yaqeen, definite, that in his absence, by you mentioning him in such a manner, he will not take offense from it. Until you do not have that yaqeen, then too it is not permissible to address him in such a manner. If you have shak taradud, mean that you think that no, I assume that most likely he won't feel offended. He's fine with it because we call him that in class, we call him that when we're out, when we're together, we call him these things, so he's fine with it. Just assuming that is not sufficient, this will also fall under gheebat. But where you know 100%, and who knows 100%? You're not going to know 100%. The only time you're going to know 100% is that if you tell that person, look, this is the name, this is the thing that we call you, and this is what I say to you. Are you okay with it? Are you going to be happy with it? If I say that in another gathering. So if he has clarified that, he said, it's fine, I don't mind, you can call me whatever you want to, the way you mess about, and in class with me or at home or friends and that. Fine, in public or in another gathering, I'm happy, fine, it doesn't worry me at all. If he's fine with that, then you say that it is okay. That won't be wafa. But if it's a case of that he will feel offended, in class is fine, but not outside class, then that will also fall under gheebat. And where we are not sure, we do not know about it, the best is what, just do not do so. And that is the best way, and that is the remedy itself of gheebat. Just do not speak about any other person in such a manner. Do not speak about a person in such a manner that is not good with regard to that person, something that they will not like. So instead of being in that situation where you assume that it is fine, it might be allowed, it might not be allowed, best is not speak ill of a person whatsoever. If you do so, then you're going to save yourself and protect yourself from nonsense. However, there are occasions wherein it is allowed for a person to speak exactly how that individual is. For instance, you know of a situation wherein people are planning some harm upon an individual. People are gathered together and they're planning harm. They have some bad intentions with somebody. Then now if somebody asks you with regards to it, then do not say, no, I don't want to be a gheebah of somebody, I don't want to get the sin of gheebah. I've just been here in the majlis, I've been going to the majlis as well, and gheebah is haram, so I can't tell you. Or somebody wants to go into business with somebody, and they know that you have had some business dealings with them. They may have offered you a contract or a deal or something that you might have dealt with them. And you know that, look, this person is a fraudster. This person is not reliable, is irreliable, unreliable, or he is a fraudster, you know that. You know that his plans are actually, or you've overheard him speaking, or you know that this is his intention is to do harm to somebody. There you don't become a Sufi Sahib and say, no, look, I can't speak ill of any person. So we do not warn that individual, or we do not tell that individual. There you will not regard that to be a gheebah. There then it will be allowed and permissible to mention that, look, this person has these types of habits. Especially when it comes to what you are inquiring with regards to. That individual may have some other habits which have nothing at all to do with what you inquiring. Meaning he might have some other habits, but when it comes to his business dealings, it doesn't affect that at all, and neither does he do anything wrong in that department. There's no need to go into all those other things and take out all his other dirt and that. But where it matters in those situations where it is needed to speak the truth, then there a person should speak the truth and say that, look, this person is a fraudster, or he has deceived other people. This is what he is. He is like as an individual. He may not always be truthful. There it is allowed to, but rather there you should do, just as I mentioned previously to you, to love for your fellow Muslim brother what you love for yourself. That's the way you want that somebody tells you the truth, and somebody warns you and you ask them, you want the same for somebody else as well. That's what Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions, that al-mustashiru mu'taminu, that when a person makes mashwara with somebody, at that time, the one that you make mashwara with, that time he is a trustworthy person, he needs to be a trustworthy person. Meaning that just the way if somebody gives you a trust and amanat, what do? You look after it. Similarly, if somebody comes to you for advice, that look, I want some advice from you, I want some mashwara from you, there too you should always give that person the truthful mashwara. And especially when it comes to what? Good for that individual, because that is where the nafs can play. Because when a person knows that, oh, this person wants to go down a path which is going to be a good path for that individual, a successful venture for that individual, but you do not want that person to be successful, so you give them the wrong mashwara. They may ask you with regards to business, for example, or maybe it might be even with regards to nikah, where they're asking you with regards to a family which you know is a good family, and you know that this would be a good place for proposal, but you are not willing to, you do not want that this person gets married there or their family member gets married there. So because of that you give them fake information, or you do not give them honest information, and this is going against the whole purpose of mashwara. There is a case of being honest. With regards to business as well, they are asking you a matter of business and you know that you are successful in that line of business, then give them the correct mashwara. Give them the correct mashwara. It is not necessary that you have to give them all your secret ingredients and all your secret recipes in that as well. That isn't essential and necessary with regards to this. You don't need to give them the whole list of all your supplies and that. That isn't necessary. But to give them the correct direction, to help them out, and also to give them mashwara, the correct mashwara, this is the duty upon an individual. And always remember that the more truthful we are going to be, the more helpful we are going to be with the others, we will never be in loss. Mean that even if it does mean that yes, we do give them the suppliers, and we do help them as well in establishing their business, and we are running a similar business as well, do not think that it is going to be of any loss to us. Because at the end of the day, whether that person opens the same business or not, is not going to reflect or is not going to have any bearings on the rizq and rozi that is already destined for us. If we have a shop or a business, whatever line of business it may be, and somebody opens the same next door to us or across us, whatever is in his or her rizq, they're going to still get that. And whatever is duty, what is meant for us in our muqaddar, we're still going to get that. Which means that even if that shop did not open, we would only get the amount that we are getting now. So we cannot say that because of the shop across my neighbor, it's affecting my business. Yes, it could affect your business in the amount of customers that come and go, which is something that's going to happen. That is what the competition is in business. But at the end of the day, whatever risk is meant for us, that will come to us in whatever ways Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants it to come towards us. And one example I've given in the past with regards to this is that maybe your competition might have 10 customers coming, but those 10 customers are buying what? 10 pound items. So they've come and they have bought 10 customers you've seen, and you're counting here with your tick, you're counting the customers that they get. And you just thinking that he's got 10, 20, he's had 10 in the last hour, 10 customers. But those 10 customers that have come, and now because they bring their own bags in that as well, you can't even see, what they bought from there, so you don't even know what the cost may be. So the 10 customers, maybe they've bought items which are just 5 pounds each, 10 pounds each. So maximum maybe 100 pounds there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may send one customer to you who buys something which is 110 pounds. He's whatever he buys from you, one customer, and he buys what is worth more than 100 pounds. So if he was to do his and he'll see that, he'll think, look, he's only got one customer, so I'm better than him. And he will think that, look, he's got 10 customers, I'm worse off than him. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it such that you made 110 pounds and he made 100 pounds. Both should be happy there. And even if that one customer came and bought one item for you for 100 pounds and he got something for 100 pounds, he's got his 100 pounds and you've got your 100 pounds. Who are you going to complain to now? And when you do complain, it is Allah Ta'ala that you are complaining to. So in this way, we should never think that, look, this person is going to take my risk. Nobody takes the risk from anybody at all. That is period. Everyone, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is destined what his risk and rozi is. Even if you are sharing a plate with another individual, you will only eat that amount which is yours. That amount which is destined for you, that is what you're going to eat. The other person should not think that, look, he's eaten too much here and I'm not going to share in future. We go for a bayan somewhere. And after the bayan where there's going to be the khana and that, look, I'm going to take my own plate. Because I'm not going to eat with so-and-so next time. Guys may say, I'm not going to eat with so-and-so next time. You won't get any meat left. You'll just have the salad and the oil to eat. So I'm not going to eat with so-and-so. And then afterwards you tell him that, look, you ate my food. That isn't the case. Nobody eats any other person's food at all. To the extent that that mehman and that guest that comes to our house as well, they are eating what? They are not eating our risk, they are not eating our portion at all. They are eating their own share, which Allah has destined for it to be on our dastarkhan. The dastarkhan is ours, the plate is ours, but the food itself is that individual's. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destined that should be where? At our house. That his afternoon meal, evening meal, or whenever, that should be from our home. That is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had destined. And this happens as well. Someday a person, you cook something in the house. And what happens out of the blue? Somebody comes, or somebody might send something to your house, and that's what you have thought that you will eat, that goes off to somebody else's house, and that goes to somewhere else. And sometimes you might have even intended that today we're making and we're going to send to somebody else's house or we'll give to somebody. But it so happens circumstances that goes off to another individual. It goes off to another individual. Why? We did not plan any of these things. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had already destined and planned that this risk is for that individual. So because of that, it will reach whoever it has to reach, irrelevant of what the circumstances are. So never at all should we think. That's why a person thinks as well, that if a mehman is going to come and if we're going to have guests at our house, and that means that, look, we're going to have to spend on them. Yes, for sure. But that spending is what? That is sadaqah as well. To the extent Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that which you even put the morsels in the mouth of your wife, meaning that you should feed your family. that is also sadaqah for you. So sadaqah isn't just when a person feeds the poor. Sadaqah, the husband, whatever he earns within the house, and whatever is then made from that, purchased from that, and whatever is eaten from that, that is sadaqah within the home. And upon that as well, the husband, he will get the reward of sadaqah because he is the one who earns it. And now those sisters who think, look, then that is not fair, let's we go out to work. We go out to work, why? Because we want the reward of sadaqah as well. We want to go out to work as well because it's not fair that the husband is the only one who gets the reward of earning the bread. We want that reward as well. So we're going to go out, that's why we go out and we work as well. But you won't find many who have that intention when they go out to work. That isn't their intention. Their intention is if the man can go out of the house and work, then we should be able to go out of the house as well. If he can wear trousers and pants and ties, we should be able to wear tie suit as well. And if we are able to wear the apron, then he should be wearing the apron in the house as well, and he should be staying in the house whilst we go out to work. This is how it is nowadays, equality. And this is what we regard to be equality. But we haven't learned what equality is. Look at the household of Nabuwwat. Look at the household of Sayyidina Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha and Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anha. This is what equality is. Equality is not that just one does all the work and the other just sits there and does nothing at all. Who sits there and does nothing at all and the other has to do everything. Equality is what? That both work. Both work. And here according to how Allah Ta'ala has created man over woman, the differences Allah Ta'ala and the roles that Allah Ta'ala has given man and woman, that is how the work will be distributed, and this is what equality is. That the husband cannot say that, look, it's not fair for me, that I am in a role that I shouldn't be in. And neither can the wife say that, look, it's not fair that I'm just meant to stay in the home and do nothing at all, and you go out of the house and you earn and I don't do anything at all. No, equality is both work. And how do both work? That Allah Ta'ala has created man in a manner that he is able to face the outside world. And now that women are facing the outside world, they are the same ones who are complaining how vicious the outside world is. But that's why Deen and Shariat kept you protected all the time. You are the one who wanted to come out of your security and out of your protection. You're the one who, you already warned beforehand that this is how it is. That the world outside is a vicious place. So where even men are not safe. So when that is the case, then Allah that has given you your security. So man, he goes out, this is equality. Ali radiallahu ta'ala would go out the house and he would take care of all the outside work of the house, the earnings and all. Sayyidina Fatima radiallahu ta'ala, she could not complain that, look, this is only equal rights and I can't be just sitting and doing nothing at all. Fine, she had work to do as well. And within the household itself, there is so much work that needs to be done. That itself is a full-time work. That is also, that's why, where the term has been changed from housewife, which was regarded as derogatory, to full-time mother, is correct actually. It is a good change that has been made to make people understand. And there are those full-time mothers who are proud to be full-time mothers. They are proud to be full-time mothers because, I'm talking about non-Muslims as well, because they are giving that message that we are full-time mothers at the end of the day. That motherhood itself, within the home itself, that is so much work on its own. That is so much work in its own, that takes up so much time, that if now telling that mother to leave that and go out and do all the struggles of the outside work and do that motherhood as well, this is against equality. This is not fair upon her. This is not fair upon her. Fair is that the husband says, look, you look after the whole household departments. The household departments. But because if you say that you have to look after the house, it regards that to be backwards, isn't it? That you're keeping me behind. But if she is to work and work, she goes there and she's told in that firm, okay, you're in charge of this department and that department. Very tough now. That I've got so many departments under my hand. I control so many departments. I make so many decisions there. And I take care of so many things. So she has a label there and she feels proud there. Whereas she doesn't realize because there are so many departments within the house itself. Not just one department, there's so many departments within the house that she is being put in place which she controls. Which she controls that. Where the husband does not meddle in it. And where she has been given that, you can't meddle in it either. Do not make that mistake, that you give them that job and then after you meddle in that, you shouldn't be doing that. So when they carry that out, they are very capable and able to do that as well. They are very capable, majority will be capable and able to carry those things out, which man will find difficult. Although it's not necessary that man cannot do those. Mashallah, good chefs are men as well. Doesn't mean only women know how to cook, but you'd rather find maybe the best cooks are men. Now this will make chefs now. That is a department on its own. That is a work on its own which takes so much out of them that man who goes out and works and he comes home, and that full-time mother, when she's there at evening, both will be just as tired, or maybe the full-time mother will be more tired. That is how tiring it is. That is already a department, and it is also work that Allah has given. And this is equality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is creating. If the household is such, then that is a household that is going to work. Where the husband, he's going to be saying, no man, I'll just stay at home, and you go out to work. And she's going out to work, and she's trying and slogging outside and working as much as she can. Things are not going to work correctly within the home. Both are going to go out of the house. Who's going to take care of this department within the house? Or if both are going to stay in the house as well, nobody's going to work at all. Again, a household cannot work either. So there needs to be a routine that is there, wherein responsibilities are distributed. And responsibilities are distributed, as I mentioned previously as well. If she's got a paid job wherein she's cleaning toilets in an office block, or any other building, hotels or so, and that is what progressive. And she cleans toilets at home, that is what regressive. That is now backwards. That is something, no, I didn't get married to do that. That is not what my job is. That you should be telling me to do these things. But she's happy to be doing the same thing outside, and she's doing outside, that's a career woman. If she's doing inside, then she's not. And the man's duty is what? That he doesn't just sit within the home, but he earns the bread. He earns the bread. So I was coming on a point that the sadaqah, when he earns the bread and he feeds his family, that is sadaqah for him. And the wives should not feel that, look, we are going to miss out upon it. Because the wives are the one that if they're going to then cook that food as well, then they'll also get their share of sadaqah as well. Because he'll bring it. And if the wife cooks it as well, then she's feeding who? She's feeding the family. And when she is feeding her family, then she is going to get the reward of sadaqah there as well. So that is equality there. She will get her reward as well. And if her husband, she feeds him and he's able to go and carry out his duty to earn, she'll get part of the reward as well. Her children, she feeds them and they go to madrasa, they go to learn ilm, and they are able to because their stomachs are full. Then she gets the reward for that as well. Whatever neki they are able to do, she will also get the reward of that. And if she is in that position where Allah Ta'ala may have given her more earnings and she has more money than her husband, and the husband is unable to spend so much, she spends upon the husband, that is also sadaqah for her. There is also sadaqah for her. As the wife of Sayyidina Abdul Masud radiallahu ta'ala, Sayyidina Abdul Masud's earnings were not so much at one point. And his wife, Sayyidina Zainab, she came to Nabi Karim sallallahu ta'ala sallam and asked, and said that he doesn't have so much. Am I able to, should I give sadaqah there or not? Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, yes, for sure. Wabda biman ta'ul, and sadaqah should be within the family. And Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said as well that you'll get double reward. Double reward, one is the reward of doing sadaqah, and the other reward is of sila rahmi, of maintaining ties. Now because she's helping a family member, she gets separate reward for that, and the fact she's doing sadaqah, she gets a separate reward for that as well. So when the husband feeds the wife and earns in such a manner, this is sadaqah for him as well. So in this manner, mashwara, as I mentioned to you as well, what is meant for one another, you're going to get that. One should not feel that the opposition, or as I mentioned to you with regards to mehman, that when the mehman guest comes, that is sadaqah. When they eat at your house, this is sadaqah as well. And when they eat at your house, they are doing what? They are eating what is their rizq. They are not taking anything away from your rizq. That you think the more visitors that I will get, the quicker I will die. Because that means I will starve because my quota of my bag of rice or my quota of rizq and rosy, I am going to give from there and I'm going to feed people from there, so I'm going to be left with very little. So I'll be ending up malnourished. That isn't going to happen. But rather it will be the opposite. Rather it will be the opposite, that because you feed others, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you barakat. Allah ta'ala will give you barakat. That where you think that now this bag of rice that I've purchased and this will last us as a family so long, and now you get visitors, you think that now it's not going to last so long. Allah ta'ala will make it last longer than it would have just for yourselves on its own without those visitors coming. Because they bring along barakat with it as well. So we should not fear at all when visitors come to us. And I was mentioning to you with regards to mashwara as well. Somebody asks you for mashwara, a person should be honest. Where you can help and assist the person, help and assist them as well. Where you know that there is harm for that individual, do not conceal that harm. That you know this person is asking that, look, should I go into business with so-and-so person, and you know this person doesn't have good intentions. You know you've had dealings with this individual, that's why they've come to ask you, and you know how he is, but you want them and you want this person to also face some hardship and difficulty. So you give them the wrong mashwara, you give them the wrong advice, that is also incorrect. So with regards to Gheebah as well, if somebody asks you with regards to somebody, and you are able to tell them the facts, then it is not Gheebah. Similarly, when it comes to matters of nikah, for instance, matters with regards to nikah, for instance, there people are going to ask, isn't it? People are going to ask other friends and other family members or neighbors or people that, do you know this person? What can you say about this individual or so? At that occasion, that's where it is important for a person to be honest. Means that where you know that there are things here that need to be told to that person, do not think here, look, this is Gheebah. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you need to be nitty-picking as well. That now it means that no, I've heard, now I need to be honest. So because that means I need to be honest, now I need to take out every fault that I know of that individual. No, that isn't the case. That you go to that extent as well. You mention those things which are important for that person with regards to what they are asking you of. If it is something that you know, okay, it's not a good quality, this person, but okay, it's not going to really affect what this person is asking about, and there's no need for you to go into all that detail. But those things which are essential to know about. So on that occasion, that will not be regarded to be Gheebah. That you make it of that Gheebah and you think at that time that no, I'm not going to say anything, and know that look, they've asked for lished at so-and-so person's house, but this person, the boy or the girl, are involved in these type of things. Their character is not good, their earnings or dealings are not good. So no, I'm not going to say anything at all, keep quiet, I don't want to make Gheebah of somebody. There it will be allowed for you to disclose those. And as well, with regards to reviews as well, nowadays, everything, there's reviews everywhere. Now with regards to reviews and feedback, there is that which is optional. Where it's optional, it is optional. And where is a case of somebody is asking you and wants help from you and asking with regard to feedback, with regard to something, there as well it is allowed to speak negative where it is justified to be negative. Simple thing as well. Person may want to buy some food from a certain place. They might want to shop at a certain place. And they're asking you with regards to the goods, what type of goods, are the goods good or not? Is the food good or not? Clothing, for example, is the clothing good or not? Is the quality good or not? Somebody is a tailor, for example, somebody else had clothing sewn from that individual. Look how the quality, did they do a good job on it or not, or did they mess it up or not? So when people are asking you reviews with regards to that because they want to use that service, there too it is permissible to tell the truth. Not that there you think to yourself that no, I don't want to make Gheebah of that person. So there is a case, one is, as I said, something which are easily mendable, and the other is no, this person, you're going to be in a lot if you're going to take service from that individual, then there it wouldn't be regarded to be Gheebah. You want a plumber, you want a builder, or somebody do some work for you, and you know somebody worked at somebody else, you're asking that person, and you know that look, this person is what a cowboy. He's going to watch things up, he's not going to do a good job. So it doesn't mean that you say, look, I don't want to make Gheebah of him, especially if he's a Muslim. Non-Muslim, and here again we're wrong as well, where we think non-Muslim, fine, you can make Gheebah of them. The ruling is for every person, Muslim or non-Muslim. And because he's a Muslim, so his Muslim brother, no, I don't want a Muslim brother. So because Muslim brother, I don't speak ill of him. So you say, he's alright. But you know at the end of the day, he's not alright. He's going to make a mess of things more than anything else. Make a mess out of things more than anything else and tell that person, look, he worked for me, but look, this is what happened. This is how he worked and this is what he did. So I would not recommend him. In more polite ways, very simple, I won't recommend him. But then at the end of the day, it's up to you now. Maybe a case of this was a off day for him, or a job that he couldn't handle, and maybe he can handle your jobs. It's not necessarily he's done that all the way, but look, this is my experience with this individual. He's not somebody that I would recommend. That will not fall under Gheebah. That is where it is allowed and permissible to speak what the truth is. Aside from that, as I mentioned to you, with regards to abstaining from Gheebah, the best remedy is what that a person does, what a person just abstains from listening to bad of people and abstains from what speaking ill of an individual. And a person does that, then they're going to save themselves, not just from Gheebah, but save themselves from a lot of other sins as well. Not just Gheebah itself, but from so many other sins as well. Because when this tongue of ours, that's what Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa advising the Sahaba said, what to him? Amlika alayka lisana. Look, have control over your tongue. Because the tongue is that mechanism which Allah Ta'ala has created in such a manner that throughout the day our tongue, it functions throughout the day. Good, bad, it continues. It doesn't get tired. You won't hear anybody saying, look, no, my tongue needs a rest. You might say, look, my head is a bit sore, my head needs a rest, my body needs a bit of a rest, look, I'm tired, I can't walk, I need to sit down. Because my tongue is sore. Speaking a bit too much today. No matter how much you've spoken, the tongue can continue. It doesn't tire. That is how the tongue is. That's why Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that when the tongue is one, that very easily moves. When a person is sat and relaxes, you want something, you'll think twice. Shall I get up? No. You won't just jump up and go and get it as well, especially when you just sat, you're already relaxed, you'll think, how desperate am I, do I need to get up and get it or not? So in that you might even not get it as well, thinking, look, I can't be asked. I'm too tired or lazy to get up, so you won't do it. The tongue, that isn't the case. So other parts of the body, shall I move my hand, shall I grab it or not, do this or not, the physical movements, you may think twice. But when it comes to using the tongue, there we do not think twice. Because you don't feel tired. So before even thinking, the tongue starts moving. We start using the tongue before we think, whereas with regards to our hands, feet, legs and other things, we'll think before we start moving these things. And that's why Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam does not say with regard to other organs that will control those. Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam says with regards to the tongue, that keep the tongue under your control. Everything else is easier to control. مَنْ يَذْمَمْ لِمَا بَيْنَ لَحْيَهِ وَمَا بَيْنَ رِجْلَيْهِ أَذْمَنْ لَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that whoever guarantees that organ which is between the jaws and between the thighs, and I guarantee him Jannah. Meaning that he will save himself from Jahannam if he is to control these organs. And what is مَا بَيْنَ لَحْيَهِ, between his jaws, means the tongue, which again is very light, very easy to move. The hand, you still have a bit of weight here and there that you need to move, but the tongue is not heavy at all. Nobody finds it heavy to move the tongue at all. And because that is the case, a person will very easily misuse the tongue. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam says what? Amlika alayka lisana. Control, keep that tongue under your control. If the tongue stays under the control of an individual, then not just the Gheebah, but all those sins which are related towards the tongue, a person will be able to save themselves from all those sins. And as I mentioned to you, it is not just Gheebah, but there are so many things that we do speak ill of, because this is the power of the tongue. The power of the tongue that can benefit us so much. And if we abuse the tongue, then that can be of nuksan to us as well. How we use the tongue, do we use it in those things which are going to be beneficial for us? Or are we going to use it in those things which are of no benefit to us at all? Of no benefit to us at all. And this is what happens as futile talk is what puts us into trouble. Man samata naja, the one who remains quiet will find protection. As this silence is golden. True, silence is golden. That's what Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions as well. That a person should speak that is what is khair. And if he is not able to speak that which is khair, then he should remain quiet. فَلْيَقُلْ خَيْرًا أَوْ لْيَصْمُتْ. He should speak that which is khair, otherwise remain quiet. And if you are unable to speak that which is beneficial and khair, do not speak at all. And when you do speak, then speak that which is khair. On one occasion, two students from Balakh, Afghanistan came to Delhi. And they came to Mazhar Jane Jana. They came to Mirza Mazhar Jane Jana Rahmatullahi. They came there with the intention of taking bay'at to him. Now they had not seen him prior. So they came there. When they came there, they were doing wuzu at the house, the pond that is there in the masjid. So whilst they were doing wuzu there, they just had a debate with one another. One started saying that I'm sure our house back home is much bigger than this one. And the other one is saying, no, I'm sure this one is much bigger. And they had this argument that they made throughout the wuzu. Mirza Mazhar Jane Jana Rahmatullahi walked past there. And when he walked past there, he overheard them and he observed this. And this is how a Murabbi Murshid should be and Ustad should be as well. That even when students of Mustarshideen are unaware, the Ustad and the Murshid is still aware of what they're talking about, what is going around and what is happening, who's where. So Sheikh Mirza Mazhar Jane Jana Rahmatullahi, he overheard this. After Zohar time, after they came in, Hazrat mentioned Kaisa Anuwa, and they said that we've come from so-and-so, they introduced themselves. And they said that we've come to take bay'at. So they were there to do mulaqat, they said we've come to take bay'at. So immediately then he asked them, he said, Batai, have you come to a conclusion or not? Which hose is bigger? Have you come to the conclusion or not? Which hose is bigger? This one or the one in Balakh? Which I said, we still don't know. So then what did he say to them? He said, Dekho, rather you go back to Balakh, measure that hose, come back here and then measure this hose. And then when you know for sure which one is bigger, then take bay'at. Then take bay'at. Until then, just go back and what is the size of, or measure this one here and measure the hose that is there. And he sent them back. Why? Because this was futile talk. It was absolute futile. They were discussing a matter which they had no knowledge of. Neither of them had measured this one or that one. They're just talking off their heads. No, this is bigger, that is bigger, this is bigger, that is bigger. Throughout the wuzu, they're just discussing these type of things which are absolutely irrelevant. So, already diagnosed this illness within them. Yes, it was easy for him to just do the way and then remedy them afterwards. As a person asked Hazrat Hakim Umar Rahmatullahi with regard to this, that when they had this illness in them and they came to that intention of becoming bay'at, then rather they should have taken bay'at and then they should be remedied. This was already sent them back in before bay'at or so. To which Hazrat Hakim Rahmatullahi mentioned that when a Sadiq Murid comes to the shade for bay'at, then there are certain basic principles that he should be aware of beforehand. And Mazhar Jane Jana regarded these to be from those basic etiquettes and things that they should have been aware of before they had approached him and before they came there. So this itself was their Islah, that go and sort this out rather than them being taken bay'at and then being told that to rectify themselves. And this is the haqiqat as well, that Allah Ta'ala puts it in the heart of the mashayikh as well to deal with people in certain manners. The shaykh might be a bit stern with certain murids and not with others, lenient with others, show more affection to some than others. Person should not equality here, what's happening here? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts it in the heart of the shaykh as well, according to what is needed with different individuals, and that is for the betterment and for the islah of that individual as well. There are those which are, and Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as well, there are those who Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam showed that shafqat was, and there are those who Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam admonished what is best for each individual at that time. And this is the thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts in the hearts of people as well. As the Mufti Zubair mentions, with regards to his father Mufti Shafi rahmatullah alayhi, he said that my father was he would very rarely become angry with somebody. Very rarely you see him getting angry. But there would be certain occasions where he would get very angry. Angry that we have not seen before. And he mentioned one occasion, somebody came to see him. And this person was one who didn't have a beard, was in Western clothing, not somebody who is not deen as well, or maybe have some deen understanding that, look, what is the maqam of a shaykh, for example. And if the shaykh does reprimand somebody, look, it is for his betterment, and that he wouldn't expect that he'd have any of these understandings. So he came. And he just sat and said a couple of things, and before we know, Hazrat Mufti Shafi rahmatullah alayhi became very angry with him. He said, we've never seen him so angry, to that extent that he even said to him to get out from there. And they had to remove him from there. He said, get out from here. The Mufti Zubair mentioned, we were astonished, and we felt that, look, this person now, he's probably never going to come back. And he probably might have thought that, look, that's it, just never go back to such ulama again. No matter, but all sorts must have come in his mind in this manner. And this is what we had thought. And as the Mufti Zubair mentioned, that sometime after that, when he met him, he said to him, and he had changed, his person's life had changed after that. He says that it was that that punishment that I got from that visit to Mufti Shafi rahmatullah alayhi, that totally changed my heart. It totally changed my heart. Which to others thought that, look, this is something that's going to have a negative effect. But he himself mentioned that it totally changed my heart. That day when I came and I was told off, it totally changed my whole perspective of deen and changed my heart. So, whereas that wasn't the norm. The one is that everybody is treated that manner, everybody is treated in the same manner, then okay, you can expect that. That wasn't the case here. Why? Because Allah Ta'ala destined that treatment in such a manner. Here as well, the tongue, if it is not utilized in the right place, it will be utilized in bekar things, in what? Things which are futile, unnecessary, wasting of words, wasting of effort in that. Whereas the tongue utilized in the right manner, then as Nabi Kareem mentioned, Kalimatani Habibatani ar-Rahman, Khafifatani al-Lisan, Thaqilatani fil Mizan. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanallah al-Azim. These are those words which are so light on the tongue, but they are so heavy on the mizan. And the whole point is to show that, look, how you use the tongue. Use correctly, it can make your mizan so heavy in good deeds. And at the same time, use it incorrectly, you can make it just as heavy in bad ways as well, when a person does not control the tongue. So hence, the main remedy of gheebat is the person learns to control the tongue. You learn to control that, you save yourself from gheebat, and at the same time so many other illnesses as well. Allah Ta'ala grant us all the understanding and tawfiq. हमारे वो साजिद महमूद उम्रा में गए थे और मंडी में उम्रा, तो आज सुबह तबीयत उनकी ज़रा बिगड़ गई है, हार्ट अटैक वहाँ मक्का शरीफ में, कंट्रोल में है बहरहाल, वो स्टेंट लगाए हैं और put another one as well on Sunday, अभी तक रखेंगे उनको, तो कंट्रोल में है, लेकिन बहरहाल ये तकलीफ हो गई है उनको, तो उनके लिए भी दुआ फरमाए, अल्लाह ताला उनको मुकम्मल शिफा अता फरमाए, सेहत आफियत अता फरमाए और हिफाजत फरमाए, और तमाम बीमारों का अल्लाह शिफा अता फरमाए. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.